Welcoming into now on Salem News Channel, Ethan Peck. He's an associate at the Free Enterprise Project, which is a division of the National Center for Public Policy Research, nationalcenter.org to check it out. Ethan, thanks for coming back on.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
So, talk to us. You have a new breaking story out that is actually really pertinent to what we've been discussing, especially in relation to Israel. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the ADL actually smeared our organization, the National Center for Public Policy Research, as anti-Semitic for a shareholder proposal that we filed at a bunch of companies, going after companies for their contributions to the World Economic Forum and for a research report that we wrote about the United Nations. And it's just very telling of what has happened to our institutions because an organization like the ADL, which once did some decent work, has become completely woke and is completely off the mark and smearing us.
So the smear that they're leveling against you, just, it's the garden variety anti-Semitic smear, which again, if someone really is anti-Semitic, that's something that we should know about, but it's losing a little of its potency because pretty much anything that the left doesn't like that has to do with the Middle East, you're anti-Semitic because basically what they're saying is you don't agree with their viewpoint.
Yeah, and it's not just it has to do with the Middle East. We actually got called anti-Semitic for using the word globalist. It's a proposal that I wrote, a shareholder proposal that I wrote that I used the word globalist to describe the World Economic Forum, which is a globalist organization. And I'm happen to be an Israeli American. I happen to be Jewish, but also completely irrelevant. Has nothing to do with the fact that the World Economic Forum, being a globalist organization, is not an anti-Semitic slur. They just are. They're not even pro-Israel. They're not a Jewish organization. Nothing about them is, and so to call it that is just ridiculous. They just use any attack that they can use to smear any point of view that's right of center. And and you're right that also using these slurs, overly using them, dilutes it, and then there actually are anti-Semites out there. So just like when BLM threw out the word racist too much, and then it diluted the use of the word racist, but there are real racists, and so that's why language matters. You have to use it appropriately.
Yeah, and the appropriate use of language means that when we see true anti-Semitism, we can actually stand up against it and we can maybe inform, explain, assist with getting the proper information out there. And so in this case, we're talking about, and I'm on your piece on nationalcenter.org, and you're talking about the ADL Center on Extremism. So they actually have specific people in their organization who are dedicated to work against not just anti-Semitism, but anti-Semitism in its most extreme form, which takes the form of people actually doing hate crimes against Jews. And that this happens worldwide, but it's also something that can happen here in the United States. And we've seen an uptick in anti Semitic violence since the Obama administration years. So every year we've had more and more attacks on synagogues, on Jewish people in public spaces, and vandalism on their private homes, residences, and also their businesses. So these are things that we do want to see put to an end. But then there's what they're saying about National Center, which is patently not anti Semitic.
Yeah, exactly. And that the center on extremism, their center on extremism, really what they call extremism is anything right of center. So it just kind of like the SPLC and the ACLU used to be good organizations that fought for a just cause. They just became woke. So now their only job is to spread wokeness, attack people that are even right of moderate, like it just that's the same thing that the ADL does, but they have like a anti-Semitic flavor on it that when they launch attacks to the right. And so I emailed them, and you're right, the anti-Semitic is on the rise. Anti-Semitism is on the rise. I get called slurs all the time. You go to my Twitter right now, you can see people 10 minutes ago yelling Jew at me as if it's a slur. So it's a very weird thing to be attacked with anti-Semitic slurs for 5 minutes after the ADL is calling me anti-Semitic, and I'm a Jewish because they have their heads, in la la land because they're woke. Nothing makes sense anymore, and that's the upside down world that we live in.
Yeah, I often will say, if someone can tolerate my racism, and people will direct message me and say, "Why are you saying that you're a racist? Are you actually racist and against who?" And I tell them this is my sarcastic way of acknowledging that in a 24-hour period, I can be called a racist against Black people as a Black person, and also, you know, be accused of being someone who plays the race card. And, so there's both sides of it. And I can also be called, an Uncle Tom, or whatever the slur du jour is. And so this is similar to what happens in the Jewish community. But I think in some ways, especially after October 7th, there's a sense among some of us that the way that we've taken it up till now, it's not that we haven't been serious, but maybe we haven't been serious enough because of the attack on October 7th. I feel like there's just this, it's an overall sense of mourning, but there's also a sense that we need to change the direction that we're going in the defense of people who are Jewish because of what happened, and because of the possibility that people who did that in Israel might feel the same kind of, I guess, courage to do it here in the United States. So this is actually a very serious problem. October 7th highlighted something for us that I don't really think we considered. We didn't consider that could occur.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly why the ADL should be really busy. They should be really busy right now with actually important stuff. There's anti-Semitism coming from the left, from the right, from the Islamic communities. It's
Mhm.
everywhere, and yet they're busy attacking me. Who am I? I'm a no one, first of all, on their radar, and I'm in pro-Israel, Jewish, and I wrote them an email. I said to them all. I said everything to them. I told them who I am, what I stand for, how it's a ridiculous slur. They didn't even respond. They didn't take down the slur at all. So they're only there to smear right of center views, and that's just the way I think that what's going on there. And it's a shame because people rely on them to be the sort of voice that calls out a lot of calls out this stuff that's very troubling. There is no reliable source now. It's sort of just all a mess. And so I agree that combating anti-Semitism, like combating any form of discrimination, is important. But I think that just comes down to speaking truths, and that's it.
It does, and maybe we need a new ADL. That I think that's part of it. I feel like maybe some of the organizations that have served us so well in the past have been corrupted and might need to be replaced. Ethan Peck, associate at the Free Enterprise Center at National Center for Public Policy Research. The website's nationalcenter.org. Thank you so much for coming on, and let's keep up the fight.
For sure. Thanks for having me.